I basically don't know anything. I didn't do my homework because I wanted to be genuinely impressed and genuinely surprised. If I did my homework and you would have said something and yeah, I read that. It's not going to sound very good.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Oh, you're a star. Thank you. What's the secret in having money, having education, having a certain status in society, and not feeling, yeah, I'm the boss, I'm the man.
Well, I find that very uncomfortable in the first place, to blag.
There you go.
You know, it's not something that I want to do. And what I'm acutely aware of is that this car is expensive, and I think everybody knows that instinctively because it looks expensive. So whether you're into cars or not, you look at it and go, that looks like some money's been spent on it. And what I'm acutely aware of is bringing my daughter to the school that our children go to, and it's not a particularly wealthy area. And I initially, when we did that, I felt very uncomfortable. And I got used to it. It's fine. You know, you get over it. What else can I do? Is that why
you park so far away from school?
No, I do, but I do that in order to have no one bang into it. I don't want them to open their doors.
It's for your protection.
Yeah. And not that anybody would do it on purpose, I don't feel.
Yeah, but it happens.
But yeah, people carelessly do it, you know. And
yes.
I don't want that to happen.
I do that with mine, and when my car, costs 4.5 times less. About 4.5 times.
But you're right. I mean, it is something that I was particularly aware of when we first had it, and I still am now to a certain extent. And my daughter gets a bit excited sometimes and gets a bit showy-offy. She wants to wind down the window and go, "Hey, look at me, friends!" And I think she does that because we're in the car, and she also knows it's a bit different and a bit special, and so she's aware of that, and she gets a bit. Like, I want to show this off. Of course she does, she's 7. And that makes me like go, no, I don't want you to do that. And maybe it's fine that she does do that, I don't know. I'm not necessarily judging other people's reactions, but I don't like it. About anything.
We can only say what we think, we can only express things from our point of view. We don't have to be right.
Right.
We have the right to be wrong.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I try to be right, and if I am wrong, I hope
you can only try.
Yeah. And I hope somebody will tell me. But,
so basically, I'm asking you this because obviously you didn't have money since the beginning of time, and
no.
And,
so my dad came.
You weren't born into money. You
No.
made your money, but you don't feel the need to show off. You don't feel the need to brag about it. You don't feel the need to say, "Hey, do you know what? I've got money. Look at me."
I'm glad you think that because that's. I don't like.
You don't come across as you could be driving around in a very cheap car. I don't want to say anything now because obviously some people will say, "Hey, that's my car. What are you on about?" So yeah, basically you can be driving because I drive around in a £10,000 car, and I feel like I must have done all right.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't feel the need to say that because I know there's cars worth 10 times that around.
But you could also argue that this car is only worth so much because it's got a giant battery in it. Because as cars go, it's not the finest.
Okay, tell me more about what you don't like about it, because obviously you like the car a lot.
Overall, I love it.
Yeah.
But there are some issues.
Right. What don't you like about it?
Like the build quality. Everyone talks about this.
Well, it's American, so it wouldn't be.
That's true. That is true.
It wouldn't be built like a German car, for example.
And what gets a lot of press is the panel gaps, right? And I would actually argue the panel gaps aren't the thing, because if you look around, if we wander around this car park.
Yeah, it's not noticeable. Yeah.
No, and you'll see that all cars have panel gaps, and it's just that someone at some point has said that about Tesla, and somebody's latched onto it, and it's run with it, and it keeps going. Mm-hmm. So I would argue actually that's not really a major issue. And there have been issues on some vehicles that have got bigger panel gaps than others.
Yeah. But that shouldn't be the case for a £100,000 car.
Quite.
Because the kind of people that buy these cars brand new want the quality that's worth their money.
Right. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think it matters where you've come from. In terms of car, not in terms of like society or background or anything, but in terms of your previous car to buying this thing, it was very much an upgrade for us. Very much so. I've never, ever spent this much money on a car. And
but your car was an all right car before. I mean,
We had a
Volvo
Volvo
SUV.
Yeah, well, it was an old one.
XC90.
It was
That's a fine car.
Yeah, it's lovely. It was a diesel guzzler, but it was lovely. And then before that, we had a V60, which was nicer, and that was an R design, and it looked like I liked that one.
Yeah, the V6. Yeah, Volvos look nice. They feel really. They feel much nicer than they actually look.
Yes.
They're not the best looking cars out there.
They're not the best looking.
Boxy, I like them.
I like them too.
I
think you're probably
that.
It's an acquired taste.
It's an acquired taste, definitely.
But and the XC90 we got was 2005. We bought it for £5,000. It was a bit of a, you could knock it into a hedge, not worry. We sold it for £5,000 as well after owning it for a year.
What's the matter with you? You never lose money on cars.
Well, that one was quite exceptional. Like in terms of its interior, it was mint, and it had done a few miles, but it was mint. And we lost money on the previous car, and the reason I sold the previous car, the V60, I think we bought it for 12.5 and sold it for 9.5, and I wanted to get rid of it because I felt like diesel was going to just fall off a cliff. I might have jumped a bit early, but at the time...
Yeah, probably 10 years too early, but hey.
Maybe.
Yeah,
but
maybe. Well, we'll talk about that in a bit.
Yeah, I felt like the diesel cars were going to be not worth much soon. So I thought, well, let's get rid of the expensive diesel and buy a cheap diesel, and then it's okay. I'm just sorry, I don't mean to be rude.
Is your car telling you off?
It might be. Don't mean to be rude.
No, it's fine.
So yeah, we've got 5 more minutes, but I don't know if you can see that. It tells you everything about the current status of the car. I don't know if that's interesting. I don't know whether you want to edit that out or not.
No. I'll leave a lot in.
Yeah,
apart from me banging into. I nearly banged into that gentleman's car. The gentleman who said his grandmother was Romanian.
You hit the supercharger, not the car.
The supercharger.
Yeah. So it was just the charger.
Thanks for that.
Yeah. It's fine.
I thought, oh my god. Oh no.
You're all right. I've lost my train of thought now. What were we talking about?
You were saying that you thought the diesel was going to fall off a cliff, and you got a bit panicked. So
this is my point. It depends where you've come from your previous vehicle. Like this is very much an upgrade for us. But if you've always bought expensive cars like Porsches and like high top end Mercedes, where you've spent a lot of money on them and the build quality's fine, then spending this much money on a Tesla, you'll probably notice that actually the interior is not so nice.
110 grand is Ferrari, Lamborghini.
It's Ferrari money, yeah.
Porsche 911 money.
Yeah.
And I'm talking the turbo version of it.
Yeah.
So
and
if you buy those kind of cars, you've got money. I mean, man.
Yeah. And performance-wise, this beats it.
Oh, this beats pretty much anything else.
Yeah. But quality-wise, it definitely doesn't.
Right. Okay. So this is what you don't like about it.
Yeah.
Right.
So we've had a headlight fail, and because it's a sealed unit, you can't just change the bulb.
Can you not?
No. You've got to change the
there
entire...
it goes. There you go. You're not going to be able to service it yourself in front of your house.
Oh, I've done that. I did do that. Yeah, I did that. I can show you some photos. I can send these to you later if you want.
Yeah. I'm sure you've got a website of the business or something.
I do have. It's got. So my wife and I have got an electric vehicle consultancy.
At some point we're going to get to your business and where you're going with this and what you want to achieve. So obviously we're going to have all the details in the description so people can check it out.
I won't look at my phone while we're doing
this.
That's fine. I can send you some photos. Anyway, it's actually like it's put together very simply. You can take this thing apart, no problem, and swap out anything you like. Really, it's quite easy. I bought. There's people queuing. I should probably go move it. I feel a bit bad.
Right. Okay.
But I bought a second-hand headlight because from Tesla.
Second-hand headlight.
Yeah.
As in the whole unit.
Yeah, because
it's a sealed unit and you can't just change the bulb.
Right.
You had to buy a whole.
Right.
Wow.
And if I bought a brand new one, it's £1,000.
Wow.
Yeah. And it wasn't that the bulb had failed; it was that the headlight itself had condensation inside, so it was full of water. And then it started getting wet on the electronics, so that it stopped working.
So it was.
So I needed to swap out the whole unit. And I bought a second-hand one from a scrappers, and I put that one in, and that one did the same thing. So I've taken the second-hand one we bought back out and put in the original one back in because I dried it out, and this time I drilled a little hole underneath it to let the condensation out. Yeah, and that one so far is holding. But I've had to do that because it gets expensive.
Yeah, you shouldn't have to have this kind of fingers crossed moments with
Right. I agree.
Car worth
I am going to go
something.
move it though.
Yeah, it's fine. That's fine. You had to change a light bulb. You don't like the build quality that much, or you think it could have been better.
Yeah,
Or
and
it
they
should have
are,
been better.
and they are getting better as well. Like, so there's a difference to buying one 5 years ago to buying one today. They've improved themselves in terms of their processes much more. They've still got issues though, and it's the same with any car manufacturer though.
It doesn't matter what you buy. At some point, you will get problems.
Except, anecdotally at least, Mercedes. I've heard like it's crisp every time. This is how I define it. I think Tesla make the best electric cars,
Right.
but they don't make the best cars.
That's a fair point.
Yeah. So, because they're a software company ultimately, they make computers. It just so happens that their computers have wheels.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's just a massive phone, isn't it?
Yeah, essentially.
It's a massive smartphone basically with wheels. Yeah.
So, and they've got very good at doing that side of things. They're exceptional. You can't really beat them in terms of the efficiency on the motor, the efficiency of the battery, the delivery of power, the reliability of the battery and the motor. All of the main factors of EVs. I forget that it's a car. If you're just going to compare EV with EV,
Yeah.
this wins on all metrics. All of them. Even when you compare it to the Porsche Taycan. And the Porsche Taycan's a very nice vehicle. But when you compare it with what's important in an EV, in terms of range, durability, efficiency...
What's the range on this thing?
That one, it's 250 miles.
250 miles, that is 400 kilometers.
Right. The new one, which you buy now, has got a range of 400 miles.
So, yeah, we're probably looking at 1,000-mile range in what, 10 years' time?
I don't think you'll ever get to 1,000 because there's a trade-off between...
Well, sorry, 1,000 kilometers, so 600 miles.
Yeah, probably.
620 miles, yeah, sorry.
I think probably
1,000 kilometers, yeah.
I reckon 600 miles is probably about the limit because right now the best one, or although it's not fully in production yet, is the Lucid Air. Have you come across the Lucid Air? Have a Google. It's very nice.
Right.
It's another EV startup. They've been around for a couple of years, but they've just got going now, and they've got a prototype, and it looks lovely, and they're now taking orders, and they're about to ramp up manufacturing.
Right.
And their car has 520 miles worth of range.
Wow.
And
so
performance-wise is on a par with the Tesla.
850 kilometers.
Yeah, and I think that's probably where you're going to find there's a limit, because the more range you add, the more battery capacity you need, or you can find gains in efficiency. But where you add more battery capacity, you add more weight.
What about different types of battery? Perhaps there is a type of battery that was not invented yet.
Right. Well, there's solid-state batteries. Have you heard of solid-state batteries?
A bit like the hard drives, right? Well, SSDs.
Yeah, they're called solid-state, but I don't know the difference. But I do know the difference with current batteries from solid-state batteries.
So what's the difference?
So right now, these are lithium-ion batteries.
Which is cells.
Yeah, but they have a liquid component in them in order to transfer the energy from negative to positive. I think I'm no scientist, and you might want to look this up afterwards to double check. Anode and cathode. Right, and that's liquid.
Yeah.
Right, and the solid state battery.
Chemistry, there you go.
Yeah, exactly.
From 25 years ago.
Yeah.
Good.
And the solid state battery, it doesn't have a liquid part of that.
Right.
It's,
is it a gel inside, do you think?
I don't know.
Something has to be a conductor to help conducting that.
I don't know.
Some sort of plasma.
Yeah.
Ah.
But the Mercedes have just revealed that they're going to do a bus with a solid-state battery, and as far as I'm aware, that's the first commercially available solid-state battery in a production vehicle, although it's not out yet. But it's 25% more efficient than the lithium-ion.
But that's a massive improvement.
Yeah,
25% is in in anything. 25%.
There's still a lot of doubt around the solid-state batteries. Still a lot of doubt.
Is there?
They're expensive. This is why it's not being commercially available. And I'm amazed that Mercedes have released this news, and they've not done it yet. They're just saying they're gonna do it, and they've showed off a prototype. So they've got a working prototype, but they've not done it.
I was going to get to that thing. I was going to ask you, why do you think that the big manufacturers, the big car manufacturers, haven't come out with electric vehicles like Tesla.
Because
they should have been right on par
Yeah.
with Tesla. I mean, if you look at Mercedes, that's the first ever car brand in the world.
Yeah, I would say
It should have been miles away from Tesla.
Yeah, I would say though that there's a huge advantage with starting in the beginning and going we're EV only, because if you're a legacy automaker, you've got loads of contracts from all sorts of suppliers.
So basically, you can't
And you
chop
can't
off
switch.
your own hands or
Right.
your own foot.
And
Yeah.
also, you've got you'll have a lot of people up high, powerful people who make decisions, going, "I'm not interested. It's not what I know. It's not what I want. Diesel, petrol."
So mentality.
Right. I think it's partly that, and then it's partly to do with contracts. I'm sure there's loads of other situations as well that I'm not thinking of. But
Economically, it would make sense to have, say, Mercedes or BMW or Rolls-Royce,
Wow.
or think of one big car manufacturer brand.
yeah.
To have, right, we're making petrol and diesel in this plant and we're making electric vehicles in that plant. And I tell you what, when the EVs sell better, we'll forget about that and we'll move everybody to that plant only making electric vehicles.
Yeah.
And you would expect, I would have expected every big manufacturer to be on top of it, like
They've been late to the
hot
party.
cakes.
They've
Do you
been
know-
late to the party.
do you think
and,
that's-
and they've let Tesla have a massive head start. And bear in mind, it took Tesla, I think, 11 years, if I'm not mistaken, to be profitable. That's a lot of time where you're not making any money.
That's just the vision of one man.
But they're still
Because
the only...
I think if somebody would ask me why do you think that's the case,
Yeah.
I would say Elon Musk. That's the only reasonable explanation.
I mean,
Because if you would have
he is an
an
incredible man.
Elon Musk
Yeah.
running Mercedes, what do you think it would have happened?
Yeah, I don't know.
If you would run BMW tomorrow,
Yeah.
what would you do?
Well, I would switch to EVs, but I'd have a hard time convincing everybody it's a good idea because it's so much investment required.
Let me put it a different way. If you would own BMW, if by some kind of miracle you would be the owner of BMW,
Yeah.
or
What with like 100% decision-making capacity?
you would be, you would be the big cojones in BMW. You'd basically own the show there.
Yeah. Well, this isn't, maybe
Tesla-
this isn't in the realms of realism. So I'm going to say something else that probably isn't that realistic. I would sell BMW and start again with another brand.
Would you?
Yeah, because it's just too hard. It's well, that's maybe slightly unfair, but from the evidence that I've seen, it's clearly easier to achieve the EV commercial environment and also architecture of the car if you're starting from scratch. If you're
Right.
starting from a business that is legacy auto, it's really hard. And I, even if you went, we're going to switch now wholeheartedly, you're going to have some headaches. You're going to be pulling your hair out for years, and your shareholders, let's say, they're going to abandon you, and you'll probably nosedive. You'll probably go bankrupt. Whereas if you sell it and start again with a brand new brand, you can go, right, we need to hire in a bunch of people.
I just realized a few flaws in my argument of earlier on. I don't think it's just one man. No,
No, it can't be. I mean, he's a visionary and he's amazing, but he's not the whole shebang. Like, there
surely
is-
he's got people behind him and
Yeah,
everything
yeah.
else.
He's
Surely
also
got people
he's also
alongside
splitting
him.
his time between Tesla and SpaceX. Remember, and it's not like
He's sending rockets into space,
Right.
and he's also drilling holes and he's digging in
Yeah, he's
California,
doing all sorts.
and he's doing all sorts.
he's
but
the
got-
ideas man, right?
but he's
And he's also an
amazing.
engineer. Yeah, he's an incredible person.
So yeah,
But he's not always. He doesn't always necessarily do what I would do in terms of his public persona.
yeah,
But you
that's
can't really
just
fault
him.
him in terms of
But
his business
that's just him. You don't.
acumen.
I don't admire him for smoking weed or for whatever. I don't really care if he does or if he doesn't.
No.
Everybody, should be free to do whatever they want as long as they don't, infringe on other people's liberties or
Yeah, exactly.
do other things.
Uh-huh.
And it's like you said, I wouldn't do some of the things he does myself, but
No.
that doesn't matter.
No.
His legacies,
Yeah. Oh, they're
and it's plural,
remarkable.
legacies.
Yeah,
It's very hard to leave a legacy behind.
Yeah.
Let alone
Yeah.
several.
I can't quite think of anybody else that has achieved quite so much.
Probably Thomas Edison or You'll have
Maybe.
to go.
I'm no history buff, so yeah.
Probably, Nikola Tesla.
Yeah. He didn't achieve much, although he's a fascinating man. But I'm not sure, like commercially,
he was a little bit of a he was a little bit of an odd man. Yeah.
I'm not sure I answered your first question.
You have.
Okay, good.
You basically brought me to my mistake, to my flaws in the argument, to which I was going to come back to. I think big brands like BMW, like Mercedes, like you pick a brand, just think of one. They basically have to do what their customers expect them to do.
Yeah.
Because
and this is also why, if you remember earlier, I mentioned Polestar. This is why Volvo, although they're making some electric vehicles themselves, but they've taken their performance brand and gone, we're EV with this. Because people won't necessarily understand that it's Volvo, but it is Volvo.
Right.
But it sounds new, sounds exciting, it sounds like a new brand. And it's the same thing that...
Building from scratch.
Right, Seat have done the same thing with Cupra. Cupra are the performance arm of Seat. Cupra is now the EV brand. It's the same thing with Citroën, with DS, was their sort of performance brand. And now DS...
The luxury, yeah.
Yeah. And now DS are the EV brand. DS are going all EV.
Right, so this is probably going to be the case with Toyota, with Lexus.
Oh, Toyota and Lexus, they're a funny one. They've shunned the EV thing.
Well, they've gone hybrid when
but
nobody on the
I know,
market
and they
was.
refused to come out of hybrid, and now they call it self-charging hybrid. When before it was just known as hybrid, and now it's self-charging hybrid, which is deliberate, confusing messaging, because it's not self-charging, it's not magic, it doesn't charge by magic.
Right.
It charges by petrol. You put petrol in it.
It's difficult. I mean, it's very difficult to make a decision based on so many factors. You have the business side, you have the customers' input, and like I said earlier on, I think the customers will decide pretty much what's going on.
Yeah,
you can be a trendsetter like Elon Musk if you start from the beginning. That's why you probably said you would start from the beginning. You would sell the brand or sell whatever.
I mean,
I would never. I love BMW so much. It's just unbelievable. It's my favorite. The 5 Series is my favorite car ever. The 530i, may I add, manual gearbox.
Very specific.
Yes,
Yeah, I mean,
E39 to be even more specific. An E39 from 2003 would be ideal. If anybody's got a mint one for a reasonable price, let me know. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. My wife's going to kill me. No, I love the brand, and that's why I singled it out. Not because I have anything against it, but because I love it.
Yeah.
I love Mercedes, and I love cars in general.
Me too.
So I want them to be around. Although I think in the future, going electrical with cars is just another step. It's just another period. I think in the future, if I'm going to think long-term future, individuals won't own cars.
I think that's the goal.
You think that's
Yeah. I can't think of a better one personally. Because
just price them out the market, make them so expensive to maintain and run that it's going to be just not viable to have a vehicle. Just get on a bus or a train
or
whatever
still have access to vehicles. It's just that the ownership model is
you're just going to
removed.
have to have enough money to be able to afford one.
Well, no, you can still have access, but just pay for access. Don't pay to own it.
Oh, like a lease, but
don't
even
even
have
you
it in your garage.
Let's say there's a community like your street, and
you mean like the bicycles in London? Just have a car somewhere. Just have a big garage somewhere.
Yeah. And you go in, you tap it, and it goes here. Have this one.
Paid by the hour or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, and take it away, and then you drop it back, and somebody else has it. Maybe not in the land of coronavirus.
I think.
But, give it a few years.
I think that's obsolete as well. I think that's
Maybe.
a non sequitur because
are you talking autonomous?
You've got Uber,
Right?
which does exactly the same thing. You've got taxis. You've got
Yeah. I think there are many ways you could spin this, but the fact that
if you need a car for a few hours, you just pay for a taxi or an Uber.
Right, but people like the sensation of driving too.
Go to a track.
Yeah.
Virtual reality.
I don't know. Nothing really
They've
gives
got
you
the
the same.
haptic. They've got the haptic costumes.
Yeah, I've
I mean,
seen them.
If they can have sex in those costumes, they
Can they?
They can surely reproduce.
That's
Apparently,
news to
people
me.
are working on. I
Really?
haven't got a haptic costume, no, but I mean,
Yeah, no.
they are making these things,
Yeah, I can imagine.
and I'm very fascinated at these things, obviously. So basically, I was reading somewhere that they've got this haptic costume, or they were developing it, or they were about to commercialize it, or something.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I'll look it up at some point. But yeah, it was just like being able to have sex from thousands of miles away is like, really? But apparently, it's a viable option. Apparently.
Expensive
So,
one, I imagine.
I should think so. Yeah.
Probably cheaper just to try and get a girlfriend or a boyfriend.
Yeah, I suppose so. But yeah, I mean, again, it's down to the people who want.
Sure. Well, and
Whatever.
I'm sure there's lots of other applications
Yeah, let's
too.
come back to cars and
Shall we? You think so?
yeah, it was getting a little bit what a dodgy conversation subject. Anyways, but it's got to be had. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I think the future of mobility will change, and I think autonomous vehicles will change the landscape
basically
forever.
impossible to predict what's going to happen.
But exactly how it will quite plateau. But if I was to set up a community tomorrow, which is something I'd like to do because I'd love to self-build my own house at some point, and if I was to do that in a community setting, I think I would try and organise some sort of leasing structure where maybe 3 vehicles are available for maybe 5 households, something like that. So you've already cut down on the amount of vehicles you need because many households have 2 cars, right? I don't know, you'd need to work out quite how many would work, and then have them available for the street rather than for the individual.
So basically, like a park and ride for a small neighbourhood.
Well, I guess so.
So instead of having
like a car
individual
share, it's just a
cars,
car share.
It's a car share scheme, but
Yeah.
you have a park and ride. You have, somewhere a parking space where you keep the
Right.
cars, and you just book them.
Yeah.
It's like you book your, your visit to the zoo. Like
Right.
we had to do last week or
Yeah.
a couple of weeks back when we went to the zoo. We had to book in advance,
Yeah.
that time slot between 11 and half 11 or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Because of the current pandemic situation.
Sure.
So you have to
And
be a bit flexible.
it might fall over sometimes because maybe everybody wants to go out on a nice Saturday sunny day in the summer to go to the beach, and maybe there aren't enough vehicles to do that.
Yeah, but if
So
a
you'd
car's
need
going to be £200,000, or if a car's going to be as expensive as a house, you won't be able to afford it. You've got to be wanting to rent it for a few hours rather than.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you think so?
I don't know. Why do we think cars are going to be that expensive?
Why do I think that? I think that because
The
it's
amount
not.
of technology that will be in them.
It's just not. No, it's not the technological part because the technology is getting cheaper and cheaper and easier to make. I'm thinking perhaps it's going to be priced out on purpose just because
From
we
a
haven't got-
government point
because
of
we
view.
haven't got the infrastructure. We're 8.5 billion now, or touching 8,
Sure.
8.9, 8.
Is it that many?
Yeah. I think we're over 8 billion, definitely.
Are we?
I might be wrong, I don't know. But definitely over 8 billion.
Wow.
I'm talking long term here. I'm not talking the next 5 years and the next
Yeah.
10 years. I'm thinking maybe 20, 30 years time.
Yeah, maybe.
We're probably going to be over 10 billion. We're probably going to need a lot more infrastructure. And it's just not viable to just build more roads. So we're going to have to use public transport. We're going to have to use some kind of car share schemes.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that. But I think the vehicles are going to be more and more
like
expensive.
places like London, Birmingham, big cities, Liverpool, that sort of environment, yeah, public transport the whole way. Get rid of the personal car. You don't need it. I don't know why anybody owns a car in London, quite frankly, unless you're required to leave the city frequently. I don't see why anybody needs it. The public transport in London is just so good, and it's quicker.
Yeah, but it's so expensive.
Is it?
I suppose it's more expensive
£4
to own a
for
car.
ultimate. It's £4 to travel around London for the whole day.
Yeah, in one area. If you want all 6 areas in
Okay.
zone,
Yeah, that's true.
zones 1 to zone 6,
Yeah.
you'd be spending, I don't know, 12, 15 pounds, something
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
still
If you
probably
wanna
cheaper
do
than
that
owning a
every
car.
day-
Imagine how much it costs to park a car in London. And then
yeah.
congestion charging.
Yeah. Congestion charge alone is more than that.
Right, well, there we are. You know, it just doesn't make any sense to own a car.
No, you're right. But if you live outside
But,
London,
but if you live in Devon, it's a different story because the
you
community...
can't do anything.
You can't go
do
anywhere.
anything, exactly.
The links are terrible. So either we need to invest...
Public transport's definitely very good.
Well, you've got the experience, so tell me where I'm wrong.
The public transport is very good. The links are very good. I think the routes could be better, but that's not down to the companies running the services. It's down to the council and how the council's manages this side. And sometimes just having a bus going somewhere where there's only 2 families, it's just not viable in any way. You know.
In my head, though, what I can't get over is if I'm going to catch a bus somewhere, if locally, it's different if you're going into a city or something, but locally, it is always longer than it is just to hop in your car and drive.
Yeah,
and that's the same mentality that most people have.
It's a very
especially if you want to go to Dartmoor.
Yeah, if you want to go to remote areas, definitely. So that's probably where you could come in with a solution.
Well, I don't know what I
mean. Well, at the moment you've just started up.
Yeah.
But in a few years' time, who knows? Maybe you're going to have your own solutions. Maybe you're going to have some private coach going to Dartmoor or going to places where...
I don't know. I mean, the goal of our new business is to accelerate the transition and adoption of electric vehicles. That's what.
Right.
And it's we're not like making new waves in terms of the model.
And this is a very good segue to go into what you're doing and what you want to achieve.
Yeah.
What you've started and.
So we want to work with individuals and businesses and show them, well, more businesses, show them the business case to switch and about how much money you can save. They could save a lot of money, and it might not be available quite yet, but it's about getting ready for when it is. So that as soon as it is ready, you can make that switch because there are things you need to do to make it possible. So we want to work with organisations to show them by switching you can save an awful lot of money. And from a
you're talking public transport. You're talking any kind of.
Well, any business that's
got anything moving, basically.
Yeah, and even down to, and it gets easier again. Like there's a difference between residential, private ownership, and then ownership with a business, because there's lots of tax incentives to own a car through a business, because you don't have to pay your own personal tax. You can put it on before tax. So you can purchase it before tax and have it as an expense in the business. And the way that all works at the moment tax-wise is you get something benefit in kind. So you pay tax on that if you bought a petrol or diesel car.
Right.
And that's all based on your income and the value of the car, and all sorts of different calculations happen. But with EVs, it's 0%.
Right.
So not only not only do you
viable to
not only do you pay less income tax because you've said, well, here, I've just bought a maybe 30-40 grand vehicle through the business that comes out of my income.
Right.
So you don't pay your income tax. You then also have the benefit in kind at 0, and you can lease it, and then you've got the fuel savings, and it becomes quite attractive financially.
The more you think of it, the more you want to do it.
Yeah.
Sure. So basically, what exactly do you offer apart from consultancy? Do you offer any hardware, any physical stuff?
No.
Or
we may.
Just the way.
I've got ideas. I've always got ideas. Maybe, and some of them just go around my head all the time, and some of them
spit them out.
Well, I don't want to.
All right.
I mean, there's one that I feel like could be a great thing, but I'm going to hold that one slightly closer if you don't mind.
That's fine.
But yeah, no, it would be lovely to be able to sell products, because I think it's more tangible to understand and how to make money. But at the minute, it's a service where we feel like that there's a big hole between understanding about what electric vehicles are and how they work to the reality of them. There's a big gap there, and we want to fill that. We want to make people feel more comfortable to make the switch. essentially.
Right.
And we want to do
basically,
that.
when you come in, do you just give advice, or do you make a plan of how switching to electric is going to work, how financially viable it's going to be? So it's basically just
And what are the practicalities of it?
just the consultancy part of it.
Yeah, and project management if they want it. So we could do their
You
charging.
could basically bring in
installs.
motors, electric motors. You could bring in whatever infrastructure needed, whatever hardware needed. You
Yeah.
could bring it in.
Yeah.
Would you be working with subcontractors, or are you going to be doing it yourself?
No, sub them out.
So
Yeah.
for the time being,
For the time being, I think
So at some point you're gonna have to grow.
if I can show that it works, then I think we'll probably bring them in house because it'll be cheaper. But at the minute, we're fairly risk averse because we don't have a great deal of money to plough into it. But I think that my standpoint is, I've always wanted to run my own business and start my own business, and I'd be disappointed not to have tried. But trying and failing, I'm all right with that.
I want to see you in Eastern Europe. I want to see you in Romania with a big company, and I want to see you promoting electric vehicles and electric.
What's it like in
alternative-
Romania?
I think we're very open to new stuff, because, like I said to that gentleman before, after 47 years of communism, of being boxed in, from so many points of view, I think people just sort of grabbed it and ran with it. We're open to new in everything. You're going to see fashion going mad. You're going to see people buying very expensive vehicles, even though they can barely afford them.
Right.
People buying expensive houses, or building very expensive houses, even though they might use their last penny to do it, because obviously you were not allowed to do that.
Right.
It was bad.
Yeah.
It was bad. East Germany was bad, but Romania was worse. You know what I mean? So yeah, people died in prison, for example, for political views and stuff like that.
Crazy.
So yeah, I think that's a great market, and you've got the IT side of it. So you want clever people
Yeah.
to. You want to manage a team of clever people, capable people, who will do what you say in a way that brings in innovation.
What's the? You may not know, but do you know what the mix of generation, electricity generation in Romania is like?
So what you want to know where Romania gets
Their electricity
their
from.
electricity from. I think the majority of it. I'm guessing here. I think the majority of it is hydroelectrical, but there might be some.
I mean, from a climate perspective, that's great.
Yeah.
So I did some research recently that showed the difference in generation across European countries.
Yeah.
And if you switch to an electric vehicle, so this is like life cycle emissions from petrol or diesel and electric vehicle. And I was trying to show how total life emissions of an electric car is vastly smaller than a petrol or diesel vehicle. Even if you go to somewhere like Poland, which I think has got something like 40 to 50% generation from coal, which is dirty, right? It's one of the dirtiest power plants you can get when it comes to electricity.
Sure.
But the life cycle emissions, so that includes where you're getting your electricity from, and also well to tank emissions from your petrol diesel, because remember, it's not just tailpipe. They've got to extract all this crude oil, ship it all the way around the world, refine it.
There's so much,
there's
all
a big
the parts
process
that you're making, everything uses something.
Yeah.
Everything's got to be mined.
Nothing's
that car's
free.
not going to make itself.
Exactly,
all the
nothing's
plastic
free.
needs to be produced from something, and so on and so forth.
Yeah. So and there is additional carbon in the manufacturing process of a battery electric vehicle because of the battery. Right? You don't need a big great big battery.
They're not environmentally friendly to make, are they?
Not really. But it's minuscule compared to the lifetime emissions of the car itself. You don't have to drive that far to have a net gain.
So basically, you're polluting a lot when you're producing the battery or when you're making the battery, but in some years' time, that's going to balance itself out. It's going to bring it down because it's not emitting anything.
Right. Well, yes and no. So manufacturing process of diesel or petrol, and then and if you forget about the battery, an electric car is actually slightly smaller by about 10%. because you also don't need the internal combustion engine
Sure.
or a hell of a lot of the other components that make an internal combustion engine so complicated. Battery electric vehicle is actually quite simple. And then you add a little bit more on top for the battery, and I think overall it's about a third more intensive to make a battery electric vehicle. But to have a life, if you were driving a battery electric vehicle in Sweden, you add like 1% on top of that because of their hydroelectricity. Like, they're almost 100% renewable in Sweden. Like they're very close to it.
Basically, the dirtiest your energy is, the greater the benefit of going electrical.
The cleaner you can produce electricity on the grid.
What I was going to say, the dirtier your energy sources are, the greater the benefit when you're going to switch, or when you're going to start implementing electric solutions. Or do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
So you've got the double whammy.
Although I'm not sure that they use coal to refine oil. I don't know. I don't know whether that would be the case or not. Maybe they do. I guess they need electricity to do it. I don't know. But I also don't know whether they do it in Poland or not. So that it gets complicated. But if you're comparing vehicle to vehicle and just focusing on the propulsion fuel,
right.
then you measure the emissions, total life cycle emissions of petrol and diesel, and total life cycle emissions of electric vehicle. Then even in Poland, where you're getting your electricity from coal burning, you're still 50% cleaner than you are from driving a diesel or a petrol. It's still 50%. But if you get rid of the coal, you can have a massive impact. And Poland is one of the dirtiest grids in Europe. Nothing against Poland, it's just a fact. Sweden, one of the cleanest. UK is around the European average, unfortunately. I feel like we can do a lot better here. But it's nowhere near Sweden. And if you're saying Romania has predominantly hydroelectric...
What do you think about nuclear? How do you feel about nuclear?
Yeah, I think right now it's the last thing that needs to go. But I still think it needs to go. I'm okay with it safety-wise. I think all the accidents that have happened, although devastating, it's unlikely. They're pretty safe. But where I don't think they work is financially. I think to make the next generation of nuclear reactors is phenomenal cost involved. And there's always delays. Just look at like how long these things take to build. It's nuts. It takes like decades. And they're always sold on the promise that they'll be ready in 5 years, and they never are. And then you're locked into a really high price per kilowatt hour by the end of it, or megawatt hour, however you want to say. But
so it's not value for money.
It's not value for money.
Either
but right now we shouldn't turn
term.
off what we've got because they're still clean. So keep what we got, keep them going for as long as possible. But I still think we should get rid of them in the end. But they are absolutely the last things to go. We need to get rid of coal, number one.
So basically, we should keep whatever they've got for as long as possible, but they shouldn't build any new ones. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I guess so.
And
I'm no expert here, so
right.
I would say that would be my take on it. Is that?
But you know, there's an alternative, at least one alternative, if not many alternatives.
Yeah.
So why build nuclear when you could do like wind power?
Yeah, it's a windy day today, isn't it?
It's a windy day today.
But the wind doesn't always blow, and the sun doesn't always shine.
If you've got the coast, you can do something with the waves.
Right, there are things that we can do, and you need to build a lot more capacity than what is required in order for it to work, because of those reasons. Whereas nuclear is controllable, right? You can set your baseline and go, this is how much we're going to power, and it's flat. And if you look at the mix of energy in the UK, you've got nuclear at the bottom, and it does this. Right? It's flat. It flatlines, and there's small peaks and troughs. Whereas if you look at wind, it does this.
I've got an idea.
Yeah.
What if we use less energy?
Oh yeah. But the fact of the matter is, we're going to use more and more because people like energy. You can't steer away.
You say that, but I'm going to bring something crazy into this conversation.
Yeah.
What if we have curfews? What if we have restrictions? Say nobody's going to use any energy between the hours of and. I know it sounds communistic, but
I have to say that's where my mind
you
went.
have to think of the societies as a whole, not just of the individual.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not a great fan of communism. I never will be.
Yeah.
I was born under communism. I was born in 1981.
Sure.
I was only 8 years old when the communism collapsed.
Yeah.
I remember the lights going out. I remember the
Right.
hot water not being available but 3 times a week. I
Yeah.
remember all that. It
Yeah.
wasn't fun.
Yeah.
I remember being told what to do.
Right. I mean, I'm incredibly naive when it comes to communism.
I can tell you
Yeah.
that it's not fun.
No.
But
See-
don't you think that perhaps realizing as a society that sometimes we'll have to slow the hell down?
Yeah.
I mean, look at what happened during this pandemic.
Right.
When we had to slow down.
Yeah. Oh, it was wonderful.
As
I think what it's done is demonstrate that actually we don't need to do some of the things we're doing. Like, for instance, people working from home. I think companies are realizing, like Twitter, for example, have now said they're not going to have a headquarters. And they're
shouldn't.
Yeah, they're going to encourage people to continue working from home because they realise how much
shouldn't.
money they can save.
They shouldn't have a heads office. They shouldn't have heads office. The Google,
But-
YouTube.
But there are some advantages in bringing people together because it's where people collaborate,
Yes, but they
become
can meet
creative.
in cafes. They can meet in
Yeah,
in
and there are
already
ways,
existing
and you
setups.
could have an organisation headquarters which doesn't have space for everybody because not everybody needs to be there all of the time. You could have
There
a
you go.
space that's for a quarter of your workforce, and you have a rota. You know,
Exactly.
4 days a week you're at home working, 1 day a week you come in and meet with your team. I don't see why we couldn't do things like that, and that will dramatically. That would have an impact. I don't know how big an impact it would be, but it would have an impact. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah, why not slow down? Say,
but
look, at the
ultimately-
weekend, no washing at the weekend. I know some of you might need to do your washing, but leave it until Monday.
yeah, but then you're just going to see a peak on Monday.
Yeah, so what? You're gonna have a peak from Monday to Friday anyway.
Yeah. Well, you're probably better off encouraging people to do it on the weekend where the spare capacity is, because if you've got a blustery day on a Sunday, like it is now,
Right.
those wind turbines are generating energy, right?
Yeah, but
So, and it's spare, and if they're not used, it just flutters off.
you're right. We're probably better off just coming up with storing.
Oh yeah,
solutions.
storage is that's a big gain to be had. But you know, it gets really complicated. I'm no expert thinking big about this stuff. I know a little bit, but not much. And
Well, at the moment, because in 10 years' time you're going to be a lot further away than you are now.
yeah,
I don't want to big you up. I don't want to,
well, yeah, we'll see. I mean, like I know a bit. Like I say, I feel like
I'm kissing up or anything
no,
like that.
I feel like I can help people now, and I feel like I can give them some reasonable advice. If you're coming from no understanding whatsoever of energy or electric vehicles, then sure, I know a bit. You can talk to me. But you know, sustainability in general is a difficult subject because it's interwoven with everything, anything you can possibly imagine, everything you
Yeah,
do.
nothing's in a
This table,
nothing's in a bubble.
this
yeah.
tent, this carpet, the grass, the trees, whatever, they're all interrelated. And it's an immense subject. And that's
Right.
why it's so difficult when it comes to communicating the reality of it all, because people shut down. Unless you're narrow on your message, people don't really want to hear it. And that's why populism in politics, I think, has taken off. Because it's just one message, make America great again, for example. It's just like, yeah, I can get behind that. That's easy to understand. I get that.
But it's not. It's nothing
doesn't-
wrong
but
with it. It's
it's
nothing wrong
meaningless.
with that. You know, they need to make America great again, and Britain needs to be made great again, and every country needs to be made great again.
I mean, what does it even mean, though?
It doesn't mean anything.
Right, exactly, that's my
It
point.
doesn't mean anything. It doesn't. You know, when was that great time you're talking about?
Yeah, and why is it better? Why was it better before than it is now?
Yeah. What?
I'd argue that it isn't.
Yeah,
on almost every single metric.
People don't think like that. We don't think like that. We like to think that we're intelligent and that we make sense and that we're logical, but we're not.
No,
And that's the fact of it.
Exactly. Right,
That's
and
the fact
if
of
you
it.
if you
So
describe
that's
the
why I'm
problem,
saying, slow down, two days a week,
Yeah.
or 1 day a week, or whatever. yes, you're going to have to make some concessions.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're not going to have electricity. If we don't eat less, we're going to have less food. Otherwise, you're going to have to produce more, which is going to cost more.
Yeah.
And we can't. We just haven't got the land. We haven't got this. We haven't got. You know, if you haven't got food in your house, you're going to have to eat less, right?
Sure. Yeah.
You haven't got money.
If you want to have a big impact environmentally,
You have to slow down.
From food in particular, stop eating meat. But yeah, you see, it's not easy. Well, try fasting as well. I've done some fasting.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, okay.
That's how I lost a lot of weight.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. That and cycling.
Yeah.
I love cycling.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's why I said earlier on, how about consuming less?
Yeah.
And
I
if you
would
want to
agree.
eat meat, by all means. For me, it's mentality.
Yeah, I would agree. It's definitely the right way to go, but selling it to the population who don't want to consume less, they want to consume more, is a really hard task.
Yes, but we've been educated for what, 70, 80 years now to consume.
Yeah.
That's just a new thing.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
In terms of how long the
It's all
history
too
is,
easy.
80 years is nothing.
But it's all too easy. It's all too easy just to carry on as you are. And if you can see, there are two schools. I'm getting dripped on. But if there are two main schools of thought, maybe, from an environmental point of view, when you're talking about climate change, I would say that there are the green, like go back to nature, right? Live more gently.
Yeah, the extremists,
yeah,
basically.
but this is kind of what you're saying, though. Like, it's an extreme point of view. But live more gently, tread more gently on the earth.
So basically, I'm not advising for extreme measures. I'm advising something that sounds a little bit extreme, but that can be managed in a moderate way.
See, yes, okay.
Do you know what I mean?
I do know what you mean, and I would agree with it absolutely. I'm just contesting its
viability,
right,
or sellability, rather.
Right. And I've always thought, and when I went to uni and studied sustainability, there were people coming there from a very green background. You know, like they lived in communities where, you know, lots of
hippies, basically.
Yeah, they were lovely people. I mean, I don't have anything against them.
Hippies, no.
But yeah, essentially, you could call them that. And whereas I always, that's a hard sell. And I would say that I'm very comfortable being in these communities myself, personally. I'm happy to go and be part of it and experience it. It's not how I want to live, but you know, I'm very happy in that environment. But it's also an extremely difficult sell to the population at large.
That's what people think of communism, you know. When people in the West think of communism, they all think, oh, everything's lovely, we're going to hold hands and give ourselves hugs.
Yeah, it's a bit like that, I guess.
Pay each other for products with kisses and good wishes, and it doesn't work like that. No.
My thinking is more technological, and there's another point of view, and it's a bit dangerous because it can lead to inaction. Because you think or hope that technology will solve your problems, and it won't unless somebody does something about it.
Yeah.
But so there needs to be action there in order for that to work. But it's way more sellable to the population at large than saying change your ways. It's like, no, here we have something that enables you to tread more lightly without you changing your behaviour in any particular.
I know what you're saying, but
way.
I know what you're saying, and I'm
really
I'm sure you're right, and I'm yeah. I mean, I can feel it in my bones. You're right.
Yeah. Well,
but what I'm saying is, it's a lot easier because I could have gone and bought myself a more expensive bike, which was 2 kilos lighter.
Right.
And eventually, I did that.
Yeah.
So. I know. I'm a hypocrite.
No.
I am a hypocrite, and I'm a horrible person for doing that. What I'm saying is, perhaps somebody could educate us to consume less and be happy with less, because it's so easy to be happy with a little bit less.
Yeah.
If that steak is going to be 200 grams instead of 300 grams, you're not going to feel a lot different.
Sure, and by the way, I'm not drawing a line in the road here and saying you're either one way or the other, because
no. We can cross the line whenever we want.
Like, I would say, like, I have a desire, or don't want to say belief, but an education, let's say, to lead me to think that technology can make a big impact. But at the same time, I want to tread more lightly, and I will also change my behaviour, such as not deciding not to fly anymore. Right? So there's never just a...
See, so basically you've done what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And also consume less meat. You know, there's lots of... But my point is, if I'm going to try and persuade other people to
implement the technological bit. Yeah,
right, it's the easiest out of those two things.
Yeah,
it's easier to sell the technological improvements than it is to say you need to change your ways.
So you're probably going to.
It's also quite accusational as well. People don't like to be told. People don't like to be said, "Oh, you've been doing that wrong. All this time you've got that wrong."
But you have to. At some point, you have to say it as it is. Look, this is not good.
Yeah, but then they'll shut down.
Right.
And they might walk away from that situation with reflection.
Up, basically.
I think so.
You have to jazz it up. Yeah.
Yeah, and also, you may have made a decision based on the best information available at any one time, and then more information becomes available later.
And that information.
And then you should go, well,
goes,
right, that was wrong, but I still made it, and now I'm going to make a new decision based on the new information. And this is the thing that pees me off mostly about politics in general. Is if someone makes a decision and it turns out that they made the wrong decision, they still stick by their decision, and everybody else goes, you made the wrong decision, wasn't a bad thing. Admit that you were wrong. It's just like, well, why can't they just go, yeah, because I took that decision based on the information available at the time, and now I know more.
Yeah, but on the other hand, you look at how the newspapers, the media in general said, oh, such and such government
absolutely
made a U-turn.
Yeah.
So what?
You're right. It's
what?
always blown out of proportion.
So what?
Yeah.
Yes, they changed their mind because the information on Monday was that, and on Sunday was different.
And I don't envy their current situation at all.
No, I wouldn't want to be in any...
hard.
No, I wouldn't want to be in any administration. I'm not politically inclined. I like to talk about politics, and obviously I like to follow it because it influences our lives. So yeah, politics, nutrition, electric cars. Alternative energy solutions. Where do you see yourself in 5 years' time, 10 years' time?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure I know where I see myself tomorrow. I don't know.
What are you working on now, for example? Perhaps you can't give us company names or whatever.
Yeah, no. Well, my new business is called Chargeworks. Chargeworks.co.uk is our website, which we've just launched. And we are...
Are you on Facebook as well? Can people find you on Facebook, on Twitter?
I think so. I'm not into social media.
Right.
So I'm not on any of that. But I think Chargeworks is, yeah. I don't know.
Let's say yes.
Yeah,
okay.
You can probably find it.
So chargeworks.co.uk.
Yeah.
Look it up.
Yeah, look it up. That'd be nice. Hopefully, well, I'm speaking to a large software organisation in London where I'm hoping I can get some solar PV consultancy work that might lead on also to enabling us to talk to them about putting in some electric car chargers at work. Because one of the biggest barriers to electric car ownership is workplace charging. Because not everybody's got a driveway, and it gets quite difficult if you don't have a driveway.
Yeah.
I've got a driveway. I don't have a driveway, but I've got an electric car. But I would say the only reason I have the ability to charge at home is because I work from home.
Yeah.
So everybody else goes out to work during the day.
Basically have a big cable, a long extension lead.
Yeah. Well, I've got a proper car charger, so because there's a difference between plugging in on a normal socket and then having a proper car charger.
Sure, but you can do it from home if you need to, right?
Yeah. I can.
Yeah.
And we regularly do, but that's because everybody else goes out to work during the day, and then we move the car outside our house if it isn't already, and then we can plug in because we work from home. But that's not the case for most people.
So you're working from home, you work with your wife.
Yeah.
What's it like to work with your wife?
Yeah, pretty good. I mean, we've been working from home for quite a while now, but like separately. So it's only...
So what do you manage and what does she manage? Because you obviously have different sides of the business. And
yeah, well, we're working through that. It's very early stages, very early stages. So I still also work as the solar designer and installer, so I'm still doing that.
You're still doing that.
Yeah,
Okay.
and
Is that private thing or?
yeah, I'm freelance.
Working for a company. You're freelance.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and then I've got some working relationships in that side of things, which is where this software companies come from, and I'm gonna, if I get that, I'm gonna do that under the banner of Chargeworks, and that will be our first customer if we get it. That'd be cool and quite exciting.
Fingers crossed it's going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully, I'll learn in the next few weeks or so. But anyway, yeah. So we've always been sat opposite each other. She's been working on her thing. I've been working on my thing. And that's fine. It's just like being in a tiny little office.
That's lovely.
Yeah,
it's quite good because
and it's at home. The commute's great.
Together, yeah.
The commute's great.
Yeah.
Working in your pajamas is all right as well.
It's lovely.
Yeah. So, and now that we're working together, we're still sort of working on our own separate things. We've managed to get 4 interns from Plymouth University for free, which is great. Plymouth University pay their salary, and we're working with them, and they've been fantastic. And without them, we wouldn't have got as far as we have. We wouldn't have a website. I'm working with somebody who's making an About Us video, an animation, and that should be ready in the next couple of weeks. And my wife's working with somebody who's writing some case studies for us. And it's all about content at the moment. And
you got to be online. You got to be present.
Yeah, and it involves so much work in order to get there, that working with our interns has been incredibly helpful, because not only has it given us a reason to create some content ourselves, because
it's pushed you further.
Yeah, it's pushed us to give them what they need, but they've also given us what we really need, and that's been fantastic. So we've been very lucky, and hopefully the whole premise of our new organisation is to partner. Like make partnerships as much as possible.
You've got to be part of a network.
Yeah, and I'm in early negotiations partnering with a leasing company that only do EVs. We've partnered with a solar PV installer. We would like to partner with an EV second-hand sales. And I'm early conversations there as well. So and also with EV garages to repair and service. Yeah, there's a lot of resource out there, is our view. And if we can take advantage of that and bring that under us through the form of partnerships, all the better.
So whoever sees this, chargeworks.co.uk, go on that website and yeah, just share it. Just let people know it exists.
That would be nice.
Yes, that's Tom. Okay, some last words before we wrap this up. What's your message to the viewers?
Do what you can when you can do it, and also explore whether you can do it now, because I think a lot of people out there think that they probably can't do it, but they haven't sat down and really looked. And I think if most people, you'll be surprised that you could do it earlier than you think, and it might not be right away.
Anything for the kids looking at this and thinking, nah, perhaps school's not that cool?
Oh no, go to school.
Go to school?
Yeah, go to school. I mean, have fun at school. I mean, if you're anything like my daughter, then education's fun. And if you can have that attitude,
what fields
all the better.
would you study? Knowing what you know now, what fields would you go into?
If I could go back,
what's the future of the education?
It's still engineering, isn't it? Really?
Is it?
Yeah. I mean, like I said to you earlier, I don't think I am an engineer. But if I went back and did it all again, I would either study engineering, because the amount of jobs. If you're interested in getting a job, which you're probably not because you're 7, but if you're a parent advising your child, then go and do engineering, because I think you can always get a job. But it's really hard to know, because who knows what the future holds. But engineering solves a lot of problems. But if I personally, it would either be that or studying planetary science, just because I'm fascinated.
But basically, I'm asking you this because I'm convinced that only through education will the society be able to manage itself much better.
Yeah. Couldn't agree
Which
more.
is, practically a no-brainer, but not quite that obvious for our governments, for example. They're not investing enough, and so on and so forth. So it's got to be us asking for more investment. It's got to be the voters deciding the next leader has to have a platform based on education. But whoever's watching this, they have kids, and
I would say one thing:
know,
if you want to feel inspired about education, go and watch How Schools Kill Creativity by Sir Ken Robinson.
yeah, I've seen
Have you
that
seen
video on TED.
Yes,
He's brilliant,
isn't he?
But it has to be us teaching our kids things that are future-proof. Because at the moment, the education tends to be a little bit non-relevant when it comes to future.
Yeah, because it's
So
they're
that's why
not
I'm
teaching
asking you, as somebody who's doing something
go
very
and study art.
futuristic.
Go and study art. Go and study art and maths, or performing arts, dance and science.
Yeah, but how is that going to be helpful in 20 years' time when you're going to have
Because
to
it will
have...
set your mind. So,
Do you think so?
Yeah, I think so. It's
Is
not.
it
It's
just
not
the
just about what you
creativity?
know. It's not about what you know. It's about how you adapt what you know to the situation, right? Because anybody who's ever been successful is creative. They've got an original idea.
I genuinely thought you were going to say, go and study maths, go and study physics, go and study chemistry.
Well, I did say
genuinely
engineering. I think
yeah,
it's useful.
Yeah, well,
but
engineering sort of comprises that. But
Yeah.
I genuinely thought you were going to say, no, go and study hard at maths. I wasn't expecting you to come up and say, yeah, art, creative.
I mean, but you can't
gotta
be
be
successful
creative.
if you're not creative. At least you can, but you'll be traditional in the common sense of the word. Like you might go and get yourself a job and enter society and be part of an organisation, and you might have a fabulous career,
Which is not a bad thing.
No,
Yeah,
and be
absolutely.
totally satisfied. But if you're interested in starting something new, or challenging the way other people think, then you need some sort of creative flair to think differently, to come up with original ideas.
You've got to be able to see.
Yeah,
things
not
from
all
a
original
different
ideas are
perspective.
good.
Yeah,
Not all of them are
fail
useful.
a lot. You've got to fail a lot.
And
We're going to have a talk about fail at some point with somebody.
Right.
I've got it lined up.
Yeah.
But yeah, do you know how to fail? Have you failed?
Yeah, I guess. I'm not very good at it, I don't think.
I suck at failing.
Yeah,
I'm such a bad loser.
yeah, be good at failing, I think. Yeah, if you can. I'm not saying that I am. It's
And
hard
I'm not
to fail,
talking
right?
sports because I'm not a sports person.
No, but it's hard to be in a position of weakness ultimately, isn't it? Especially if you fail at work at something and you're
Yeah.
told that you failed.
Yeah.
That's hard. But failing only, it's a lot easier to learn from something you've failed at than something you've done well.
Yeah, because
If you've done well, you don't necessarily know why.
It's a lot harder to be a gracious winner than to be a sore loser. I do that
Yeah.
very well. I'm a sore loser.
Are you? See,
But I'm not winning very often either, so I'm sort of mediocre. I guess that's the term.
Yeah. Well, I would.
I'm not
yeah.
excelling.
That's true.
I'm not
it's true of
excellent
me,
at
rather.
anything. I don't excel at anything, so
No,
I've got no
I don't think I do either. I'm not.
expertise in anything. I'm not
Yeah.
a specialist in anything, so
But I would say, jack of all trades is quite useful, isn't it?
I'm not that either.
I think you're probably underselling yourself.
I'm good at talking. This is what I do.
You know how
the
to set
best.
that up. I don't have a clue.
Yeah, but on the other hand, you know how to design infrastructures for, I don't know.
Yeah, but you could teach yourself. You've got the capacity. I
Yes,
taught myself. It's not something I learned at school.
I probably have the intellectual capacity. I don't know whether I would be as excited as you, for example.
Right. Do what you
to
want.
the point of starting my own business, but
Yeah.
I would love, for example, I would love to work for you and learn. I would love to, sit next to you and learn what's this doing, how's that. But that's a new thing, Back in the day, I was interested in music. I wasn't interested in
Right.
how such and such engine works. I really didn't give a damn.
Right.
But anyways. Right, that was it. Thank you very much for accepting the invitation to
Well,
come
thank
on.
you for
thank you very much
inviting me.
for the drive, and thank you for putting up with this horrible weather and this horrible
Yeah.
cold. It's so cold here.
It's unfortunate, isn't it?
Right, so we're going to thank Tom once again, and thank you for sharing all that lovely stuff with us.
You-
Anything else you want to say before we?
Not off the top of
Wrap
my
this
head.
up?
No.
No.
Other than thank you.
No,
for
thanks very
inviting me
much.
along.
I really appreciate it, and thanks for the coffee as well.
No, you're welcome.
And we're going to go and have a massive cup of tea now.
Yeah. Sounds like a plan.